right, y'all. Wait, my mic up? There we go. All right, well, I'm gonna talk loud anyway. If y'all can't hear me, it's like, I don't know. Okay, so I'm Alex Mays. That's me, that was last spring. I'm a senior here, obviously. I major in economics. And believe it or not, I know I'm a goofy dude in a turtleneck looking like Steve Jobs right now, but I used to play football here. And this is kind of like just me talking about me coming here from a small town, my experience in college, and just like what I've gone through. All right, so some background on me. This is the Van Alstyne skyline. It's a little bit different than the Minneapolis one. That's our principal from my high school. I'm just kidding, I don't know who that guy is. But yeah, we had a population right around 2,500 people growing up, and when my senior year rolled around, there was like 83 kids left in my class. So that gives you like a little bit of background about me coming to you and just like the general transition. But like before we go any further, I want to ask if anybody's seen the show like Friday Night Lights.
Yeah.
Anybody? Okay. So y'all got a head start on like knowing what my town is just like kind of like. But like for the rest of you, you like know y'all are probably from Minnesota. So imagine how much you guys love hockey, and then like triple that, and then double that, and that's how much people love Texas or football in Texas. So.
Oh, wait, are you from Texas?
Yeah.
Hey.
Hey. Yeah. To clarify that, yeah, Van Alstyne, Texas. That's where I'm from. It's from around Dallas. Yeah. But anyway, in Texas, football is king, like I said. I mean, from the moment like kids are born, I mean, they've already probably like played football a little bit. So that was me too, you know. Ever since I put on my first helmet and shoulder pads, like the goal was to get to college football. And that's the way it is for everybody there. And both my dad played football at TCU, my grandpa played football at TCU down in Texas, so it was kind of like up to me to fulfill that legacy and kind of fill their shoes in. And so like my life didn't really, my childhood was pretty much dedicated to football, getting better at football. I didn't go and hang out with friends, I went to football camps. I didn't go on vacations, I went to football camps. And that was like my whole time. So I didn't really have like the normal childhood. Like a lot of people think it's like, oh, you're a college football player. It's like you've had it like great your whole entire life. It's like really not like that. But yeah, by the time high school rolled around, I was pretty good. I started my freshman year by the second game, and then like the rest of that time on, I didn't not start a game. And then yeah, so you guess you could say I was a big fish in a small pond. And with every coach, I mean, I started to garner some national attention. I was lucky enough to end up with 13 scholarships around the country. Coaches are coming in and promised me playing time, like a prestigious degree at all these different universities. And with every coach that came by, I guess you could say my pond grew ever smaller. I really thought that, like, in my head at this time, when you're a recruit, you're like, man, the world is mine. The world is my oyster. I can do anything. My life is going to be great. I can see my name up in lights. And that's when Jerry Kill came into my life. He was the first person to offer me a scholarship. He really did change my life, and I owe him a lot. He came and sat down with me and my family in my house, and you could tell he wasn't just another used car salesman. He actually believed and cared for us, and like he really wanted me to be a part of like Minnesota, like coming back, rebuilding the football program. And to me, that was like awesome. It's like, not only am I going to fulfill my destiny of playing college football and like making my family proud, but I'm going to be a part of something cool, and I'm going to do it for this guy. So I owe Jerry a lot. And so coming here, I had high hopes, aspirations. Jerry said I was going to do great things. When I got here in the summer of 2013, I stayed at Udolph Hall. That first summer for college athletes is mostly just like a transition period. But even for me, coming from a small town, it was just still like a big change for me. But campus was still pretty relatively small. I made my friends. I had a couple of guys that I hung out with. This is my buddy Chris and Drew, who I've been pretty good friends with over my college career. Unfortunately, everybody's kind of gone their own way. Chris had to transfer. Drew's still playing, but it's like life goes on. You don't talk to friends as much. But yeah, so campus was big. It was a hard transition, but I think the biggest transition was walking in my first fall lecture and there being more people in that lecture hall than there was in my entire high school. And so that really humbles you. And I was like, that was the moment the switch flipped from I was a big fish in a little pond, where I was a very, very small fish in a giant pond. So that was a very humbling moment. And that's when I started to be like, am I doing the right thing? I moved halfway across the country. I missed my family. I was in a sea of people. I mean, yeah, I had 2 or 3 friends, but I was used to talking to my whole high school every day. And that's hard. It's like hard to deal with that. You can feel really isolated. It's like people say you can feel alone, like a bunch of people, and I didn't really believe that, but it's true. You can really feel isolated and kind of float among the bodies. But yeah, I mean, when the season rolled around, though, I mean, I started to get used to things. I mean, we go from 6 a.m. in the morning sometimes to 9 p.m. if you have tutoring, and so that kind of took up a lot of my time. And I finally started to feel like I was getting the hang of things. I was starting to pick up the offense. I was starting to like impress the coaches a little bit, and then my first injury happened in my college career. I was blocking the soon-to-be Atlanta Falcon, Rashid Hageman at the time, and when I punched him, I felt my shoulder pop. I felt it popped out of the back of my socket, and when that happened, it brought me to my knees. It hurt really bad. I was always bigger than everybody growing up. I'd never been really hurt like that before. And so after I like recovered from it, I kind of jogged over the sideline and I met with the athletic training staff, and they told me that I'd torn my labrum, which is a ligament in the back of your shoulder that holds your shoulder in place. But they're like, don't worry, man, this happens to a lot of young linemen. You'll be good. You can play with it. It'll be okay. And I was like, all right, I believe you guys. We started doing physical therapy and just rock and rolled. I mean, I had it braced up, so I thought it was good. But over the course of my freshman fall and that spring ball, my shoulder came out of place 50 times, and it almost destroyed my shoulder socket. So that following summer, before the season started, they decided they were going to do surgery on me. And so just like that, I had gone from this kid with all these hopes and dreams to missing my entire second season of my college football playing career. And I mean, when you're at this high of a level, I mean, any snap you miss counts. And so that's when anxiety first started to really affect me. And I remember that Christmas break, right after I'd had my surgery, I was sitting with my family and we were watching a movie. I felt like my chest began to tighten up. It was really freaking me out. I felt like somebody was pushing on my chest. So I looked up on WebMD and like, what's going on? They're like, you're having a heart attack. And then after that, things escalated pretty far there. And then so I broke out in a cold sweat. I was like freaking myself out. I don't know if anybody else deals with anxiety, but it's hard. It's really easy to get irrational fast. And 10 minutes later, I was on my way to the emergency room with my dad. And we got there. They did all these tests on me. The doctor was like, nothing's wrong with you, but you have like a history of anxiety and panic attacks. And I was like, no, I've never done that before. And he's like, well, you just had a panic attack. And what they are is like, it just feels like you're dying. You really have nothing to worry about. And I was like, man, that's scary. But I hoped it was going to be an isolated incident, but that was not the case. And over that next summer, after that spring and stuff, when I was finally starting to get back to be able to play and work out again, anxiety really took over my life. I was scared to go out because I was scared I was going to have an anxiety attack or a panic attack, and I didn't want to be that dude that was sitting at the coffee shop and then all of a sudden freaked out. I didn't want to like freak all those people out. And so all I did was pretty much sit in my room and started drinking a lot more. Started eating a lot more. I know they say you're supposed to put on weight in college. I mean, especially being an offensive lineman in the Big Ten, but I didn't do it healthily. I ate 6,000 calories a day, and that was just the football diet. And then after that, I would eat pizza whenever I got stressed out. I would drink until it was like it didn't hurt, or I wasn't panicked anymore. I mean, when you're drunk, you can't really think of anything. That's the way I thought about it. And so right before my junior season, that summer right there, my thought process started to get really dark. I kind of like I said, I shut everybody out, shut my family out. I didn't really let anybody know what was going on. And I kind of had a meltdown in my academic counselor's office just because I told them everything that had been going on. I'd been avoiding my schoolwork, I'd been drinking, and so eventually I had to drop my first class over that summer because of And just like that, anxiety had like gone from just affecting my personal life and athletic life, and it's taken over my schoolwork too. And because of that panic attack and meltdown in my office, I kind of got more and more ashamed. I kind of didn't want to do anything. I felt like I was kind of a freak. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was ashamed of what I'd become. I mean, I grew a beard because I was getting fatter. I didn't want people to see my double chin. I had stretch marks for the first time, and it sucks. And it's like on the outside, people like, oh, you're a lineman. You're just filling your role. But it's like the reality of the situation was I didn't even like looking in the mirror. I'd avoid looking at myself just because like how disgusted I was. And so like going on, right for that season, I was done. Like I said, I was done with football. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to talk to anybody. And that's when my thought process, you start to reach for irrational ways to fix things. And what made suicide scary for me was not that it's hard and it's going to be painful like everybody thinks. It was just how easy you can turn to that option. I mean, it got to the point I was like, all right, I can just walk to practice, and there's a busy road, 4th Street, in between the complex and my apartment building. I was like, if I can just walk out in front of the car and just make it look like an accident on the way to practice, it'd be like nobody would be like upset. Nobody would be like to blame, and like the suffering would be over. And so, luckily, my parents were up right around that same time that was happening, and I kind of like had a breakdown and told them everything that I've been going through. My mom cried with me. My dad like understood. He got me help, and I started working with a sports psychologist that Jerry Kill and the coaching staff hooked me up with, named Dr. Justin. I do believe he's one of the reasons I'm here today. He broke that cycle of like unending sadness. I mean, one of the things he taught me to do that I feel is like really valuable is just to celebrate the little things. I mean, waking up, that's a victory. Getting out of bed, that doing, brushing your teeth, and then so life becomes like kind of like it's more positive than just being an unending cycle of sadness. And so I started working with Justin. Things started to get better. I started to feel better about myself as a person. Started to make some strides on the football field. And then August 18th rolled around, and that was the last day I ever played football in my life. I remember the play. It was the guard on the other side. It was supposed to pull around and kick out the end, and I was going to block down the defensive tackle. But the guard, he tripped and fell behind me, and the defensive tackle tabletop me. I don't know if you guys know what a tabletop is, but if somebody like lays behind you, you fall over backwards. That's what I did. Slammed my head in the back of the turf. Everything went white. Stood up. I was disorientated. I mean, it was hard. The light hurt my eyes. It made me want to puke. Having a conversation with somebody made me nauseous. I couldn't focus on anything. And so they're like, all right, you probably have a concussion. So they sat me in this dark room for a couple hours, and then finally the concussion specialist came and talked to me, ran me through some tests that I thought were like just designed to make my head hurt. And they eventually diagnosed me with a severe concussion. And here I was, just finally starting to get the ground back underneath my legs, and I'm back to square one. And so when you're sitting and like I said, they had me sitting in a dark room. And when you sit in a dark room like that for hours on end, I mean, I know it's just like to protect your brain and stuff, but those thoughts do start to creep back into your head. And that was a point I was like, man, all right, my dream's dead. It's over. I can't do it anymore. But anyways, I started meeting with Justin after my concussion, and started helping me a little bit. And then the coaches came up and told me that it was time to retire medically, and I wouldn't play anymore. And so I was like, man, okay. But they kept me on scholarship, for which I'm eternally grateful. Like I said, Jerry Kill's a great man. He does a lot. And from that point on, started doing therapy, vision therapy, a couple times a week so I could read and write again without wanting to puke. And started working out again. And my Dr. Justin is kind of the person who encouraged me to start working out. And so like I said, at that time I ballooned up to 330 pounds, and I really didn't like the way I looked. And I mean, I started small on my fitness journey. I mean, it just started off with simple stuff, like instead of having a big bowl of cereal and like a bagel slathered in Nutella, I would have Greek yogurt and I'd have some eggs. And then instead of going to like Panda Express over in Kaufman, I'd go to Go for Nutrition and grab a shake. And it was like the little stuff, it's like easy. I mean, you feel good. It's like, Justin always says, like, you get like endorphins released when you work out and you eat healthy, and it really did. It made me feel a lot better. And especially when it's like, when you start to see those like first couple gains, and you're like, man, people are like paying you compliments, like, you look good. And now I'm like looking forward to looking in the mirror, and I'm like, all right, how about progress have I made? So it's I went from like hating and avoiding looking at myself in the mirror to wanting to look in the mirror and being excited about what I looked like. And by the time Christmas rolled around, I was down to 270. And then that spring, I really kicked it into gear and started lifting weights again. And by the end of my junior year, I had lost close to I was down to 245, and I was the healthiest I've ever been. And it felt good. I mean, like, coming from that, I was like, if I can do this, if I can bring myself out of that pit, I can do anything. Like, I can handle any challenge that life throws at me. And so, I mean, it's not like my life is perfect. I mean, life still continues to happen. I mean, girls break up with you. You start, it's like, you know, you deal with it. It's like, I felt like I had the tools to deal with it. I looked at stuff as a lesson now, and not necessarily as this like, oh, this is happening to you because you're just like a bad person. And that was something I took to heart, is to like take your challenges as like lessons instead of just being negative things. And also another big thing I want to talk about is just not being like afraid to ask for help. If that's something, if you get anything out of my talk, that's what I want you to get, is just don't be afraid to ask. There's people always there that want to help you, whether it be your family, your friends, or like a stranger. Suicide prevention hotline. I know if you have nobody else to talk to, you feel like you don't have anybody else to talk to, there's somebody that will listen to you. And so I left that up there for anybody that thinks that they might need it. And then if you guys want to talk to me personally, if you're dealing with some stuff, I know I can be a wealth of knowledge for you. I've been through it. So I included my X500, and I got the question and answer stuff. If you want to ask me anything, be sure I'll be happy to answer it. So that's it. Thank you. Hope